Hi, welcome to my fifth grade science class. My name is Mr. Smith. Today I'll be conducting a series, just a few of them, of scientific investigations. And to do that, I need a few things that I have here that I'll show you. And but what we want to do here is find out the difference between physical change and chemical change. So after these scientific investigations, students will jot down in their science journal what they observe, right? And students will be able to differentiate between physical change and chemical change. So, the first thing I want you to know that the difference between these physical change and chemical change is usually composition. It means that, what I mean is that in most physical change, the composition of the material remains the same. No changes only occur in shape. Like, for instance, this is a rock, right? When we crush that rock, we got little tiny pieces of rock, but it still remains rock. Now, on the other hand, chemical change occurs. For instance, we have here baking soda and we have vinegar. But what happens when we pour baking soda into this container and then we pour some vinegar inside? Now, I'll do that and you'll decide whether the composition changed. It means the baking soda and the vinegar comes together and it changes into a different compound, a third compound. Right? So let's start with that first. So, to do this, I suggest that you always wear a protective eyewear and a mask. So let's start. So here's my container, and I'll put a little baking soda in there, and here is my vinegar. And let's see what happens when I pour a little vinegar inside. There is something happening there. It's bubbling. I hope you can see it. So there are changes there. So that there is no longer just vinegar or just baking soda. It's dissolved and it will be something else. So you need to make note of that. So that would be a chemical change that took place. So that's one experiment. So as we do this, I need to bring you back to the board here. Today's lesson is based on NGSS 5-PS1-3 and 5, 5th grade, Physical Science 1-4. So the next scientific investigation we'll use is what happens if we have this container of milk, and can we pour baking soda? Yes, we can. But let's pour some vinegar and see what happens to the milk. Does it change? Let's see if it changes to something else. There's my milk. There's my vinegar. I'm holding it up so you can see, and I'm looking for some changes, or whether it stays the same or there's changes. Well, what I can see is that it starts to curl up in the bottom. So I don't know if you can see it. It starts to curl. So I'll leave this here, and I'll get back to that. I'll show you what it becomes. Wow, but I can tell you it starts to curl. I hope you can see it. Now, our next experiment will benefit you in the higher order of thinking. And I have my cup, I have a paper, and I have matches. So I want you to see what I'm doing. So I'll move my camera around a little bit, like that. So what I'm doing, I'm taking these pieces of paper, I'm tearing it up and tearing them into small pieces, and you need to observe what I'm doing and jot down in your journal what sort of a change is happening to the paper. Now, after that, you turn my camera around a little bit more like this so you can see that's the cup. And in the cup, you have these pieces of paper. Now I'll put them down a little, and I'll take my protective mask, I'll put them on. These are my matches. Now when I strike the match, you need to make a note. What is happening when I strike the match? Would that constitute a physical change or a chemical change? So here we go. There it is. And I'm going to set it on fire in there. There it is. It's burning. So I'm burning the paper in the mug, and there is smoke coming out. So what's taking place in the cup, the paper is burning. What sort of a changes is taking place? I'll look closer so you can see. There's the fire, it's burning, and there is some smoke coming out there. What are the changes? You need to jot that down, write that down in your science journal. And this experiment, so there's me ripping the paper up. That's one change. You have to. There's me striking the match. Then I drop the match with fire onto the paper, and the paper is burning. The smoke has come out. There are several changes taking place here. So you need to jot that down. And this experiment is for a higher order of thinking. And if you'll do this at home, the cup will be hot, or the mug will be very hot. So let's see what's happening there. Closer, close up, close up. There you go. That's black. It's ash. So what's happening there? It got black. What sort of a change is that? See. Now let's return back to the milk. You remember I poured milk in a container, and then I poured vinegar. And if you can see here, it's curled up in the bottom. So that's a change. You have to decide if that's a chemical change or a physical change. Now, after you finish with those notes, you'll be given a handout, and you'll read and answer the questions. And these questions are based on the NGSS Grade 5 standards, right? And you'll answer these questions based on the reading and based on what you learned here.